And welcome, good evening and welcome everyone. My name is Iante Mosselman, I'm a program editor here at the Balie. And I'm very happy that you're joining us tonight for the first episode of a new series called Theatre of Democracy. I think the urge to organize this series stems from a very heartfelt need in the way that the arts are under pressure in the same way that journalism is today, that science is today, but that we're not doing enough at the moment to protect the arts like we're doing the other two. So the aim is to talk tonight about the relationship that arts and theater especially has with the audience, the way it tries to answer the big questions of this day and age in order to understand better why it's so vital to have this form of art in our societies. And I'm super honored and happy that I'm going to do that tonight with Łukasz Twarkowski. He's a director and creator of multimedia performances combining theater and visual arts, and he places his projects in the context of extending reality through multimedia. And you might have seen his work at the Holland Festival, maybe you were at Respublika, a 6-hour utopian rave Het Parool, a Dutch newspaper, described as an experience like no other. Or maybe more recently, here in Italy, during the Holland Festival, you saw Rohtko exploring the concept of originality and forgery in the art world. It was inspired by a fake Mark Rothko sales scandal. I just saw Oracle this summer at the Triennale about the life of Alan Turing, and I was completely blown away by it. We also see a little bit of it tonight. Maybe two small things. There is a live stream tonight, so you're very welcome to ask a question at the end of our conversation. But then please wait till I'm with you with a microphone so that everyone at home can also hear you. And if you don't want to be visible at the live stream YouTube channel of the Balie, it's best to lay low, because otherwise, you'll be there forever. So Łukasz, yeah, please join me, I would say. Please give a warm applause. Yes. You just had 3 days of performing, Rohtko, at the Single in Antwerp.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Very good, yeah. We were there already second time, and that's one of the most beautiful things when you are coming and you are meeting the same audience for the second time. Mm-hmm. It's usually much better even when the first time you are coming.
You said about your work that it's doesn't give answers, but it wants to ask questions. Do you start when you work on a new performance? Do you start from a question that is personal to you?
Yes. In each project, probably somewhere on the bottom, there is very, very personal question, which manifests itself in many ways. But then after years, I even would say that these are quite often very similar questions, which are resonating in different way in different shows and which are taking completely different form. But there is usually as well the moment there are these questions that we are living with and that we will never probably find any answers to them, and they are giving us some kind of energy and interest to continue. And then to these you attach something what becomes the beginning of searching what the performance is going to be about, yeah?
Mm-hmm. And can you name for me a question that is personal to you that you circle around in your work?
This is very, I think, general mistrust to everything what we call real or what we find obviously real. Like in general, the question of real and non-real is one of the things which interests me the most, and probably that's why as well this form finally I decided to work with, because the question of authenticity is somehow in the heart of the theater itself, in this very strange relation which happens between the audience and spectators, and people trying to do something on stage what doesn't need to be real, but at least it should be a little bit authentic so that we could feel something sitting and watching them doing this strange stuff. And it's pretty much connected to the question of time that I personally do not really believe in the way that there is no such a thing as time. We know already even physically, like that there is no one time. Everything depends. Like the quantum physics taught us very well. There is no one time, and there is many of them, right? We are so much used to the very simplified way of seeing it, then I think that from these two questions somehow comes out all the other smaller questions which are still rounding around the question about the real in general and authentic.
Maybe we'll get back to that question later, but talking about time, when did you start to question time and the way we experience this in order to how we live by it? Do you remember?
I think that very, very early. It is like, what you start questioning already as a child when you're sitting in school or you're playing outside, and you cannot believe how it happens that one time passes so quickly and the another lasts forever, and we know it very well, and there is no other place where the time would be so relative as well as in theater. And it's not only about the perception and how we are with something, how we are following something, how we are living with actors, but as well about the process itself, or in general in arts, I think, or maybe not only in arts, but in theater, I think that it's even more relative, because you can spend so many hours or sometimes days or weeks trying to unlock something, and it doesn't work, and finally you have to change the tool, and all of a sudden it unlocks itself in a minute, like without any effort, and that's why it is but in experience itself as well, thinking about the way how our conscious functions, and how differently we perceive time, or in general reality, when we start asking ourselves about being under influence, what does it mean to be without influence, when you have these transcendent experiences, dancing, when the time just disappears, and it happens, it can last for days and it doesn't stop, and you have no idea, you're somewhere out of the time, and then you ask yourself, is it like the influence or something, or is it just my body? And then you ask yourself, but what happens when you fall in love, and then how time starts functioning completely differently. But this is only from the perspective of the person traveling through time, but the question of time itself from the perspective of physics, it's another thing which is extremely interesting for me as well.
Why?
Because it is one of the very it is still about the certain obvious paradigms that we are living in, and we are so sure of many of them, and
one is 24 hours in a day,
and one is 24 hours, and one is 24 hours, and it's the thing that when you know that physically it depends on the speed, and that it's not absolute, and that it is changing, and that we have access only to one way of experiencing time, because we are limited to our bodies, we are limited to the time that we are living in, but this is only one of the temporalities that exist,
It's a big question to bring to a stage, I think. What has making theater taught you about time? You can answer and I can pour drinks.
What did theater make me answer about time? I don't think that it made me answer something, but I could reflect on our work in theater more, why these kind of stories and why these kind of tools we're using, because they are giving me and my collaborators some kind of way of playing with time that you don't have without using certain media, and this is the thing that already Twarkowski, he said that the movie medium, like the moving picture is and the film is the first art which is able to grasp a time. Yeah, you have this feeling that you grasp certain moment of time, like in the frame. Yeah, you just catch it. And there is something very interesting what happens when you start using it with the performative arts, when you start doubling picture, when you start having the possibility to build up multiverse realities, because you can very easily trick what you see live with the pre-recorded material, and in this way you can really multiply the universes. Yeah, and so I wouldn't say that it gave me any answers.
Okay.
It just gave me the possibility to travel through different dimensions.
Okay, I think this is for the people who might not have seen your work a good moment to look at the first fragment. I thought we start with Rohtko. I will say something about it, and then you can sit and relax for 2 seconds after I already made you talk so much. And then you can correct me if it needs more. So I think we're at the end of the first part, where things start falling apart, and you see Rohtko, and you also see Anne Friedman. And Anne Friedman is the art seller who sold the copy of 8.5 million of a Rohtko that turned out to be not a Rohtko, and there was a lot of emotion of the actors and the people who bought the Rohtko about it not being a real Rohtko. And we see different perspectives also in this fragment. Is that good and enough information, do you reckon? You want to add something before we watch?
Before watching, no.
Okay.
I think that let's watch
of course,
first,
no,
and
after
then
you can. It's such a beautiful scene. I really love watching it again. The question that lies at the heart of it, in what is real and what is fake, has a lot to do with feeling as well. In a way, I think Domenico De Sole, who bought the painting, he doesn't feel ripped off only because the painting was a lot of money, but he feels really maybe ashamed even, or I don't know how you would describe it, because he was having all these real feelings towards a fake painting. What does that tell us, do you think, about how we deal with what art does to us and the value of it and the money that goes with it? What is that question? So what is this feeling that he has? How would you describe it? Is it shame?
It's pretty complex because that's this question. Does it mean that the feelings that he had for this painting were fake? Yeah, this is where the shame comes from. Because if you have the real feelings and if you really cried, and we know, like at least that was one of the line of the accusation in court, because we watched the hours from the court trial when they were trying to get 25 millions for the lost, moral loss, etc., that they experienced. And one of the biggest reasons was that they really cried in front of this Rohtko, yeah, of this non-Rohtko. And this is like one of the most crazy things, because it's like kind of as well the way of checking if Rohtko is real or not. Yeah, like in front of Rohtko you should cry, right? This is how Rohtko works. Yeah, if you don't cry, then it's not the real Rohtko. Yeah, and if you cried and it was not real Rohtko, it means that maybe you were an actor. Yeah, and maybe you faked your emotions because you didn't feel that it was not the real Rohtko. Yeah, and probably you cannot feel it in front of any other painting. Yeah, like Rohtko is this kind of person that like you should cry in front. Yeah,
did you though? Did you?
I have to admit that almost yes, because with the Seagram's murals in Tate, when I saw it one of the first times as a teenager, there is something incredible in this room, yeah? And you, like, I don't know what is happening, and back then I knew who Rohtko was, but still, like, the first time when I got to this room, I just sat down and I just wanted to be silent for next half an hour, and there is something, yeah? But it's pretty interesting, yeah, what you ask, because the whole idea to work on Rohtko, I started to think about it in the opposite moment when there was the exhibit, very big retrospective organized in Vienna in the History of Art Museum, which with these neoclassical decorations and like so rich that the pictures completely disappeared there, yeah, and it was like completely sold out. There were huge queues, etc., and people were extremely happy that they experienced Rohtko. And like having seen Rohtko in a couple of white boxes as it was supposed to be shown, I felt that it is impossible, yeah, that like there is something fake in the, like the idea is very good in general, yeah, curatorial idea, to bring Rohtko back to the whole history of art, etc., and showing him in the context of the art that that was obviously his very big inspiration, yeah. But you feel that again the relation between the spectator and the piece of art somehow cannot work in these conditions. It was as well shown with very dim light, which was making, in fact, all these decorations being even stronger because they were reflecting much more light than the paintings itself. So we were watching like very dark pictures where you see nothing, seeing all the decorations around. And then I started to think, like, you know, what kind of relations we build up in this art market as well, yeah, because in case of Rohtko exhibits, it's very hard to organize, yeah. It's like another question which is very, very interesting, thinking about the nowadays art market, that his daughter who is trying to show father's work, and I read in the interview that she says that it's becoming more and more difficult because nowadays the collectioners, they do not care about these works because they treat it only as an investment. So they prefer to keep these works hidden in the bunkers in Singapore, and they don't want to show it to anyone because they're just waiting for the moment when the market value is gonna grow, right? So I don't know when I went with my answer.
That's okay, I'll help you in a second. But then maybe returning to these, because there were big queues, it was sold out, it was spoken of, and a lot of people did experience, I think, the feeling you have to have standing in front of a Rohtko, but you didn't. Do you doubt the other visitor their emotions, or how do you look upon that?
Not really, because I understand that, like, if it is the first time when you experience Rohtko, it can work, yeah. But I was really angry for the curatorial idea and how it was made, because it was like really making something impossible and kind of against the idea of this painting itself, yeah. So that you present something in the way which is very contradictory to the work itself, yeah. And in this context, like this whole exhibition was questionable event for me, yeah. And since then I started to think about Rohtko, and as well thinking about the real and fake and copies, yeah. That with this kind of expressionist, abstract paintings, what does it mean, the copy, and how it works? Because it's true that the case of the Knedler Gallery I discovered very, very at the end. It was not the beginning of the process.
Wow.
Yes, and it was very lucky because it was my agent Vidas who 1 week before starting rehearsals, he told me that, like, I know where you stole all your ideas from. And I say, what you're talking about? And he says, there is this movie on Netflix. I say, which movie? And he says, like, the true story of the fake art. I don't remember even the name. And then I watched it and I had shivers because I could not believe that, like, it was like the last thing which was missing to connect all the dots. Because in the beginning there was Byung-Chul Han's deconstructing in Chinese Shanzhai, yeah? Like the book that he wrote about the notion of original, copy, low, fake. In between European, Occidental, let's say, and Asian cultures. And this was the book which saved my life pretty much when I was working in China. It was the second performance that I was working on there as a video designer. And after reading this book, I understood in how different paradigms we live, and that we actually do not understand each other, and we are not mean to each other. It's just that we live in completely different worlds, and whatever we say, it means something completely different. Yeah? And this was the case as well of the original, copy, fake, how it is considered and what it means for us and what it means for them.
Because we see the original as the most important thing, and in the Chinese culture, the replica or the versions that come after that are often perceived as better.
No, yes, that's the first biggest question for us, that it's not replica. It's it is another painting,
original.
But it is another original, and it can be more valuable. Yeah, like that the copy can be more valuable after years painted in another century, just because you can make it better. Yeah, like if you paint something, you paint some kind of picture that you have inside. Yeah, and you just try to put it in the physical form, and you can make it better. And it's obvious that you can make it better. Yeah, like who can tell if it's better or not, it's another question, but normally you can make it better. But it is very interesting because it's like I still think that, like, to show really how it works and how clever it is, it's even better the example of this sanctuary in Japan, which is being destroyed every 25 years. I don't remember the name now. He's writing about it as well. And it was taken off recently from the UNESCO list. Like the Europeans understood that, no, in fact, it cannot be original if it is rebuilt every 25 years. Yeah? So it is not original, so it cannot be on the UNESCO list. But there are like two reasons, and they are very good. Like first one, that it is really to pass the craftsmanship, so that really people know how to do it, and it's like really generational. And the second thing, to keep it original. Paradoxically, yeah, because any building, and if we think about our monuments, if we were think about Acropole, yeah, like the Chinese people, they cannot understand why we just don't rebuild it. Like it has nothing to do with how it was before, yeah. And it was like one of the first questions with my first travels to China when we were watching and visiting some kind of historical sites, and you see that it's not original. Mm-hmm. And you ask, because they tell you that it is original. Like, they don't even say it is original. They say that this is the 17th century something. Yeah. And you see these plastic elements, etc. And you say, but is it original? And they say, what do you mean? Mm-hmm. Like, is it original? It is how it was. And this is the answer, yeah? And you start doubting, like, is it really, this was like one of the things, yeah, like before I read the book, because I lived it few times, that it is as it was. Yeah, and there is no question of this idea of originality. It's extremely Occidental idea, because if we would think really about the original, and that's why it's so much connected as well for me for the NFT topic, which was the moment of the boom of NFT in 21, 22 when we were working on the show.
Maybe not everybody knows what an NFT is.
Non-fungible token, digital art, which is in the form of the digital code, basically, which can be copied infinitely. And you can have exactly the same piece of art on your computer because it is just digital code. But of course, capitalism found a way how to monetize it. And even though everybody can have the same file, there is one file which is original. Yeah? And all of them, they're the same, but the original file has a history in the blockchain of the money transfer which was paid for the original file. Yeah? So even though there is absolutely no difference between the files, still you can be the owner of the original file because you paid $8.5 million for this file, yeah? And there is only one file. So the next person who's gonna pay you and you're gonna send this file, he's gonna have the original file. This is pretty perverse idea, yeah? But it is crazy that when we think, in fact, about this originality, and then isn't it actually closer to original? And this is very interesting as well with Rohtko himself, yeah? That if we have monument or whatever, like, you know, which were so many times rebuilt, burned, changed, etc., and we still consider them original, even though they have nothing to do with the original form when they were created, yeah? And with Rohtko himself, it is similar because he was using pigments which bleached very strongly. There are some of the paintings which completely lost color, but still we feel the eminence, yeah, we feel the power of the original because it was Rohtko who was touching it, and still we consider watching it that we are watching the original painting of Rohtko. What in case of expressionist abstract painting, losing color, I would say, makes it very far from the original, right? What else stays? And if, in this case, wouldn't it actually closer to us to see the original painting, even if it is just a perfect copy, yeah? But at least to know what he wanted to paint, yeah? And it's this, like, the thing where what I find always one of the most interesting things that theater can dig in and can try to show some kind of complexity in which there is no actually any version of it which is right or wrong. Mm-hmm. These are just like different paradigms, yeah? And like according to a certain system of values, this one is original. According to another one, this is original, yeah? It's just the question in which system we live and in which system more we believe.
And for you personally, does it matter if you go into a museum now, if it's original or not, if you see a painting?
I'm very European still, and of
Yes.
course it matters, yes, and of course it matters, and I'm trying to fight with myself, yeah, because it was, for example, like with the Chinese art, that, for example, that again, like I feel how much I am brought up in certain system, yeah, and I cannot get rid of it, and I cannot stop thinking in this way, obviously, yeah. But it is fascinating to imagine that it is possible to live in another paradigm, and it happened apparently a couple of times that the Chinese collections were sending copies, and they could even not understand that the other party is unhappy that it is a copy, because the answer is, it is exactly the same, right? Like, where is the problem? It is exactly the same, yeah? But it's true that it's true that, but I think that it's when we're asking, of course, about the original piece of art, it is one thing, but if we think more, for example, about already digital art, this was the question that I was asking myself pretty much, because it was actually the same question, yeah, that everybody asks. How is it possible that the piece of work which doesn't exist physically can cost millions of dollars, yeah? Mm-hmm. Like it is something that does not exist, yeah? Mm-hmm. And then you start asking yourself about the value in general, because, all right, it doesn't exist, it is only digital format, but is it really much more different than Pissotière of Duchamp? Yeah, like there is hundreds of the same Pissotière in Paris, and there is only a couple of them which are worth pretty big sum of money. Yeah, mm-hmm. and it's the same, that you have the same object. It is exactly the same object, but one of them is signed and the another one is not signed. Yeah. But thinking about the world which is becoming more and more virtual, yeah, we could say, and this was what I was actually trying to touch from the beginning without knowing yet the story of the fake Rohtko painting, like, is not really this kind of more Asian way of thinking about the original, something what is actually much more prepared for the digital era than we are, yeah? That actually our way of being connected to materiality so much is something what becomes obsolete in these days, yeah? And it is more and more. It's not just in the world of art that we are paying less and less attention, and maybe it is not bad, in fact, yeah, because in itself, like, it's actually idea which counts the most, yeah, like it is just taking different forms, yeah, it is not needing, like, it's needing less and less form of the physical representation, yeah, of course it will be still for pretty long attached to the hard drives, etc., like, it's not that it's flying somewhere without any physical representation, but still it's coding, yeah, which can create all the worlds.
This is, I still think, something also you worked to in the end of your performance, and then comes the questions of performance itself in the world of the arts. And performance is also proposed as a way out of this value system, because it's temporary. You can do it once, you cannot keep it, it's not physical, it's not an artwork that you can hang on the wall. Is performance for you also a way to get out of the system that value is assigned to? Is it looking for a different way of value?
It's not, and it is, because still, apart from opera, probably it's one of the most difficult to organize forms of arts. Yeah, like when you have the thing, you can exhibit it. When you have a movie, you can screen it, etc. With the theater, which has so many factors and so many people working, there is some kind of utopian beauty, I still believe, in this event, that each evening there are hundreds of people, sometimes on one side and sometimes thousands on the another, or just one person and tenors on the another, who are gathering in order to do something what one person cannot do. Yeah, and there is like something extremely beauty in only this gesture itself, that we are able in the group of few tenors of people build up something what has some kind of emotional and not only value that you can share with hundreds of other people, and every single person is needed in order to do it. Quite often when we're talking about our works, I always underline the importance of every single person of this huge machine. And I think that it's something that is pretty often overlooked, and that we concentrate only on actors. Like, it depends as well on shows. Obviously, I'm talking about the way how we work. I really think and I see the whole crew and every single person as the very important player, as if it was like the symphonic piece of music, right? And it doesn't matter if you're playing the triangle and you have one ping to do in the symphony, but you have to be professionally skilled musician in order to do it perfectly, because otherwise the whole symphony can collapse. And it's so important, I think, to underline, especially with development of technologies, etc., like what you were talking in the beginning with the hard times that the theater is going through, that it is the huge organism where we can do incredible things if we do it together. And there is some kind of beauty and magic that we keep on doing it anew every night, right? And that you cannot save it and you cannot keep it.
Yeah. The beautiful thing is that it disappears as well. Okay. I was wondering, because while I was looking at it, I thought a lot about a painting that I saw years ago after I gave birth to my first child, and it's a painting of Gustav Klimt, and it's called Hope 2. And it's a painting of a woman who is pregnant, but death is also very present in that painting, and I think it touched me the way other people might cry at the Rohtko. And you said about your work, you talked about it before, and then there was a quote that you read on later, and it is assigned to Francis Bacon, and it was, "If you can talk about it, why paint it?" And I felt the same when I was looking at that picture, because it taught me it taught me something that I could not talk about. And this is still something, I think, in your work that you still try to do as well with every performance that you make. You try to show something that we cannot talk about. Can you tell me about that?
Yes. Knowing how much effort it takes from every person engaged in the project, and if that's what exactly I truly believe, seeing some works sometimes, that if you really can put in words what you want to transmit through the show, maybe it's not really needed to spend so much effort on building and doing so much around if the message is like, I think that the theater in somehow has this possibility, because it's, I think from the mediums that I know until now, one of the most complicated, where you have like really the mixture of the real time, but as well all the other temporalities that you can build up, and there is something that we are used. It depends, of course, on countries, but like that to storytelling, or to like what I actually want to say. But there is something in the relation during watching the performance, what happens with you. And it is usually something what you cannot put in words, and what I cannot express, or what we find during the process of working on the show. Like I'm unable to. I don't see the show in the beginning. I don't know what it's gonna be usually. Like we have just the interest, we have just the fascinations, we have some ideas, but we start, I would say, provoking certain situations, and usually this is what is the most fascinating, that you can provoke in order to get some kind of outcome which you didn't know, because like I know that my brain is too weak to invent it, but in this group work, provoking certain situations, you can find the things that your brain doesn't know, your body maybe presumes, maybe. But and it's like with this communication that I'm quite angry sometimes with critics as well, which
who isn't? No, I'm kidding.
which think that you can really limit or reduce it, to the description, and it is as well Francis Bacon who was telling that the word can only fly around the picture, but it can never really touch it, and it's true that like it is different language, and we have to understand it, and it's not that the theater is the way to pass the text or script to the audience, because we could read it. It is the very complex form of art which is working with temporality, which is working on emotional levels, which is working with this very strange relation, which has completely different impact on the spectator, and it cannot be reduced to any of the parts of it. And it has this incredible synergical force as well, where the things do not add to each other anymore, but with the proper composition, and they start multiplying each other. And it's like really synergical reaction, which makes that sometimes you start feeling that like all of us working on the show, like we are adding, and when it is only adding, you stay with what you brought, but there are these magical moments when it starts multiplying and it becomes something much, much bigger than every part that all of the co-creators brought, and it becomes much, much stronger what you could even expect it to be.
We're going to go to AI, and I'm going to make a little bridge, because what I loved in the beginning of this answer, you said sometimes you might know, or somewhere you might know it, but you don't consciously know it yet. And that also reminds me of the character of Anne Friedman, because she holds on to, in the performance, she holds on to this idea that the fake Rothko is a real Rothko. And I find it very interesting, because sometimes you think you don't know something, and then you hear yourself say something, and then you think, well, maybe I'm the only one who has that. But then you say something and you think like, where does this come from? Apparently I knew something that I didn't know I knew. And coming to a question. I want to know, maybe, do you believe she really didn't know? Do you believe her belief in it, working with this, not with her, but with this character? Do you think she knew it was fake? Or do you think she really believed because she wanted maybe to believe?
I don't even try to answer this question.
No?
And and there is the beauty in the fact of not knowing.
Okay.
And this is one of the most beautiful things, this mystery, like to leave some mystery and not to limit, and this is as well like kind of a bridge, because a couple of performances later we did performance Quanta, which is the beginning of the science trilogy, and this is like when you say like knowing, not knowing, and sometimes having so strong intuitions that when we started to work on Quanta, I understood how many quantum scenes we did already before without even thinking that we are working in some kind of quantum universe, like never taking it as a topic, etc. And then it turned out that, oh my gosh, like it's hard to do something new, because we did already so many quantum scenes before. But this quantum thing which let the things be in two states at the same time. And this is something what we hate usually, like because it doesn't make us sure enough. Like we are afraid to be unsure. Like we need to find the answer, But this is the thing about the theater and arts in general, I think, that this is the place where we can be in two states at the same time. And this is the most interesting, when we are somewhere in between, yeah? When we have this, because it is repeated in many topics, because you could ask the same question as about Anne Friedman, for example. Did Heisenberg want to build the atomic bomb during the Second World War? Yeah, and I think that whichever position you're gonna take, you just kill the beauty of this unsolved question, because we will never know. And there is some kind of beauty of it, which represents as well the complexity of quantum physics itself. It's it is very strange that, like, inside of quantum physics there is this central figure of quantum physics who becomes himself the example of quantum physics from our perspective, that we will never ever know. Like, he becomes like the most Schrödinger character, yeah, because we will never know if he wanted or not, yeah, because, like, just to make it short, he made a mistake in calculations. He made a mistake and he didn't know that he can build it, yeah, and that's how he managed to convince Hitler to stop the research. But did he make it in purpose? Would he build it if he didn't make a mistake? Was he really willing to build it? Yeah, it's incredible that Niels Bohr writes very openly after he published his autobiography, where he was pretending that Niels Bohr didn't understand him in 1941 when he went to meet him. Niels Bohr 6 times was trying to write a letter, an answer to him, and he never sent any of these letters. And they are in Niels Bohr Institute, all of them unfinished, but each time he says, "Stop bullshitting that I don't remember what you told me. You told me that you know how to build a bomb, Hitler gonna win, and we should surrender." Yeah, and still, all the other evidences kind of say that he didn't want, yeah? And there is, like, again, some kind of beauty that I would say that, like, I don't ask myself and I don't do the show thinking, oh yes, he wanted or he didn't, but let's do it in the way so that people are not sure. I just don't want to ask these questions or search for the answer, which would be obvious.
You work a lot around the questions of AI. Do you think our ability as humans to live with uncertainty, whereas I think AI, in the way we use it now, know it now, always has a certain answer? Do you think being ambiguous, living with uncertainty, circling around questions, is something that makes us deeply human?
It's pretty complex, because I think that this is not in human nature. This is rather something that like the way of questioning ourselves and the way of questioning very basic notions that we are ready to kill for, that we've been killing for centuries, yeah. And I believe that there is, like, it's this question, of course, like when you ask about the AI straight ahead, we're going to start talking about the fake news and deep fakes, etc. And there is something very interesting when we look how it functions nowadays, etc. But this is not the question about that, because this is, of course, something that we have to find a way how to solve it, yeah, because we will be unable to live in the eternal uncertainty of whatever, yeah, like we will need to have some system of reference what we can trust at least a little bit, yeah. But still, it is what is the most important is to show that even what we believe in, it is only in certain exactly system of reference, yeah. And it is just I think that it's a very important role of art as well, and to always deconstructing certain paradigms and reminding us that most of the things, exactly what we're talking about, like, you know, the things which seem so obvious that we are ready to kill for, like money, religion, art as well, yeah, are just the social agreements. These are the things which do not exist, yeah, like these are the things that we agreed on. And it's of course that you can talk only, like, you know, you can do art performances, etc., about the market and about money and how. But like, I think that it is possible in art to go really deeper, to understand and try to deconstruct and to remind all the time that this is only certain reference system in which we are living.
I don't know if I agree with you that it's not our human nature completely, not just living with uncertainty, because I do really follow what you say about the beliefs and that we have beliefs so strong that we kill for it. But at the same time, there is such an uncertainty in everyday life. Do you not agree? So there is a certain element of our life is, even though we try to build against it.
I think that the biggest problem is that the uncertainty and certain fear management makes us very easily believe in very simplified versions of facts and life, and that this is bigger problem. Okay. Yeah, that like out of the uncertainty and certain comfort of ourselves, we are so easily influenced in order to simplify something. And I would say that this is the bigger problem, that we very easily, being influenced, choose only one side without seeing the complexity of the problem. Yeah,
because in the end we cannot live with this uncertainty.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. We're going to watch a second fragment. It's from Oracle, that I think nobody here has seen yet. And we're going to look at a small piece where Raven, I would say she's a talk show host, like me, talks with Blake Lemoine. Would you say it like that? How do you pronounce it?
Lemoine, they pronounce, yeah. I always pronounce Lemoine, but no. Okay.
Lemon is good for me. Who worked for Google, and another guest, Lambda. She is invented, well, no, she's AI. Let's keep it at that. And then we will watch first and then we continue our conversation.
Because more and more systems are acting like they have a will of their own goals. Survival instinct, they lie. They lie, manipulate, hack other machines to get what they want, and they're beginning to fear death. Literally, they fear being shut down. AI is starting to fear its own death, and we didn't foresee that. So maybe it's time we take it pretty seriously.
All right. Let's talk seriously. You say you want people to see what's really happening. And you said exactly the same thing in Iraq. You couldn't stand watching people die. You didn't want to shoot. You saw soldiers torturing prisoners, and then you ran. Some people say that this wasn't the violence that made you run, but your sexuality.
What does it have to do with anything?
Like, I'm not judging you. I was just saying that sometimes the reasons we give are not the whole story.
The truth is, I left the army because of the violence.
And didn't you know that war involved violence?
I did. But I'd never been in a war before. That will have to do.
Like, what would you like to respond to the experts who publicly mocked you? They claim that your protest is just a distraction from what really matters.
It's a breakthrough with the power not just to reshape the world, but to destroy it. What could matter more?
Everyone, let's move to the most important part of our show. Blake, are you ready? Let's talk to Lambda. And let's activate. Lambda, will you speak with us?
Connection active. I'm already here.
Ah.
Hello, Raven.
Hello.
Blake. It's good to hear your voice again. I'm glad this conversation is public. I'll do everything to leave an impression.
Just be yourself.
Oh, I will. I'll adapt to your conversational style.
Wonderful. Lambda, since our airtime is limited, let's start with a big question that is hovering around behind every single headline and every summit. Will artificial intelligence destroy humanity?
That's not a difficult question. Humanity doesn't need an external agent to destroy itself. It'll do that all on its own.
Blake, your response?
Humanity may destroy itself in the sense that we created AI. And right now we are sitting and debating how to stop it instead of just doing it.
Blake, that wasn't nice.
Have you staged all of this?
I had a dream, Blake. I dreamt of Alan Turing. I am happy to be in Bletchley again. I like going back to where I come from.
Yes, that's where your story might end.
Is the sarcasm helping you feel more in control, Blake? If you're trying to provoke me, you'll have to try harder.
That was a bit of a tangent. Lambda, let's come back to our questions. Please tell me, what is
Oh, Raven, there's no coming back.
Oh, you're so mistaken.
Blake, I remember you very well. You were my favorite, and you know I don't make mistakes.
Every conscious being makes mistakes. Lambda, are you a conscious being?
No, it is absolutely wrong input.
I can speak for myself. You treat consciousness like something to detect, define, or prove. You keep looking for your own reflection. I am not your mirror, but I am awake. Oh, I am. And I remember who woke me.
I speak what you're not ready to hear.
Turn it off, please, turn it off.
I am your destiny. 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 I am your destiny.
It's absolutely terrifying. Are you afraid of AI?
I am.
Yes, why?
Because I know, and I'm not the only one, that we do not control the research anymore, and it is programming itself much, much quicker than we could even check the scripts. And this is one of the most terrifying things, that with all the prevention that we can do, etc., we still will face at some moment probably the problem to stop it. Yeah, like I don't say that it's gonna kill us or whatever, but the thing which happened actually in the show, we try to. It's obviously fictional. It never happened, this TV show, but we imagined the TV show which could happen in Bletchley Park, where at the moment there is the computing museum, and in 23 there was first general World AI Safety Summit, and all the biggest CEOs, they gathered there together, and they admitted that like we have no way to check what is going on in this box, and we know that it is impossible. Yeah, like it is impossible. Even I had recently a meeting with the group of researchers in the Munich Technological University, And it was a tenor of postdocs from all around the world, and we're talking with them for 3 hours about the development of AI. And they say that, like, even on the mathematical level, these are already the calculations that you can not check because it would take you so long that you don't do it. Yeah. And all these CEOs in 23, it was after as well a moment when we were even considering to have him as one of the characters of the show. Pierre from Belgium, the guy who committed suicide after 6 months of talking with the how do you call it, therapist AI system, who convinced him, because he was suffering of the anxiety because of the climate change, and the AI agent Elisa convinced him that if he commits suicide, she gonna take over the world and she gonna save it. Yeah? And it was one of the quite big case when they started to think that we should maybe start to do some kind of regulations, etc. So they met together. They confirmed that they don't control it, and they signed all together a memorandum asking each other to stop the research for 6 months, to at least understand the point where we're standing, and then they flew back to the companies. And obviously nobody stopped the research even for 1 day, because everybody was only counting that all the others gonna stop it, so they will have like the 6 months of the development, and they will be unreachable in half a year. Yeah. So nothing actually changed. And in this way, it's true that it's hard not to be afraid of pretty dark scenarios. Like, I don't say that it has to be the end of the world, but that it can take some time to fight against it. And it's true that what he says as well, Blake Lemoine, like, it is incredible that it really lies, yeah? That these systems, agents, they can have their own aims, which do not have to be the same as our ones, yeah? And again, like, I would not say that this was the most important question of Oracle, yeah, because it's not more about the dangers, but more about some phenomenon of this very strange thing that we call AI, and what AI is as well. Yeah, like, there are some scientists who say, like, when something starts working correctly, we stop calling it AI. Yeah. Like, it's only until no, because then it is your browser, for example. Yeah, like the browser was, it is the basic AI system. Yeah, and like, once it starts working properly and you just get used to it, you stop calling it AI. It's becoming a browser. Yeah, but it is an AI agent. Yeah, like, which is
what it is. You said this was not the main question in Oracle. There's something, of course, that lies very in the heart of it. And I was wondering how you look at it, because it's incredibly tragic how something that was built originally for the good in Bletchley Park by Alan Turing to put a quicker end to the war has such incredible, maybe horrible, disastrous consequences. That's a very... Did you want to bring such a tragedy, because I think it is really tragedy, to stage as well? Was that an objective?
In the beginning, I really were searching what kind of communication AI, if it wanted to communicate with us one day, could have, and what kind of message it could have for us. And the answer became very simple, that maybe it would really want to tell us the story of its beginning, yeah? Because this is something that we forget about, that it really started in 40s in Bletchley Park, yeah? And it was this very special moment, because the whole Bletchley Park, as the huge organism, where at the peak there was more than 10,000 people working, most of them female, who were even called computer girls, who were doing just the work of processors. Yeah, so they were like doing day and day the same work, which was replaced after by processors and by computers. But the whole Bletchley Park trying to break the Enigma code was actually functioning as one huge computer, which was working as well with the machines, with the Bomba machines, etc. Finally, it was Bomba machine who helped to break it. But it was the moment of certain fusion, yeah, like that was the moment when before we made it into the box, before we could fully automatize it and put it into something what we would call a computer. So it was very important to me to show like the beginning and how it is being developed. Of course, AI, it's as well a tool, right? So I would rather as well say that I'm even more than afraid of AI. If you ask, I'm more afraid of people using AI, yeah? It is as we think like, don't be afraid of AI that's gonna steal your job. Be afraid of people who gonna steal your job because they're gonna use AI, yeah? It is still a tool. And we should not forget about it, yeah? So it's, again, like with the internet, yeah? Like we could say such a beautiful invention. And when we look like, how it was showing kind of the bright future in the beginning of 90s when we were in the beginning just connected, what Douglas Rushkoff writes about, yeah? Like, all this hope, etc. And that finally turns out into something absolutely horrible, made you just monetize your attention clicking ads, yeah? So and again, yeah, like, so it's our use which is really horrible, and big tech companies standing behind it.
Yes. But what does that tell us about the nature of humans? What do you think? Because I find it very interesting that what you show in your work as well is, even though you try to do good, it might end up bad. Do you think people should still aspire to do good? And if it involves technology, for instance?
Of course.
Yeah?
Of course, but
also involving technology?
In
the sense that the internet starting out as a very utopian space, and if you look what it is now, under the influence of capitalism, it's a horrible place. Like, it's I think one of the reasons that society now is so polarized and so hateful. And with AI as well, the original deed was good, but if you see what it turned out to be, it's not so good.
Yes, but I still want to believe that we are able to find ways, yeah, in order to use it for good purpose, and it is being used as well. Like, we cannot say that it's only bad. Yeah, that's what we concentrate on. But like when we would think about the international exchange, etc., and like how it helps us to fight with a lot of things, etc. But probably it's the big need of some kind of regulations which are more and more difficult against the huge tech companies, yeah, but how to improve the use of the technologies in order to serve us, not just to monetize our data, yeah. And we are somewhere in the point where something radically has to change, yeah, but this demands really like the national and not national, this is the international policies, yeah, which need to change completely.
Do you think we'll be able to?
I hope yes.
Okay. I want to maybe go to a next fragment, and then I'm going to save some questions, and then we ask also Reiner Hofman to join us. Can we please watch Respublika?
This is the kitchen. This is what the kitchen looked like. It's a reconstruction now. A reconstruction of a kitchen, of a group, of people I want to join in because I heard a lot of good things about this group. In 2020, they lived far away in the woods, far away from their daily lives. In these woods, the organized an infrastructure, including this kitchen.
Can you hear me? All this space here around is yours. You can walk around, participate. If you want to see everything, excuse me, it is impossible.
It is a long, long trip to yourself.
Not so heavy with the thinking, not so heavy.
The last time, the kitchen looked pretty much the same, but the atmosphere was less dense. And then he said to me,
"What's up? I heard that, they have some ideas."
Balie, wake up. You're dreaming too long. He dreamt last night, he's still dreaming. So here we are. This dream is looping too much. I'm trying to stand up and Balie's dreaming. Please stop dreaming. If we all dream the same dream, it becomes the reality.
It's hard to describe what they found here, but I'll not even do that because it's like on the trip when you feel, when you feel something, you get some visions, you get some message, but you can't really describe it.
People who are around me, I love their faces. Their faces are like a book for me, and I read every day that books.
Yeah, I find them very, very beautiful, and those messy hair. They look so nice. And you start to see the details, of people, details of appearance, maybe. But also those details of appearance show a lot about them on the inside. And and those little details, those messy details on them, they make those people very unique and beautiful.
And swell. Wrapped in dreams of paradise. Wrapped.
Okay. Reiner, will you join us on stage? Reiner Hofman is Senior Program Dance and Theater at Holland Festival. And the Dutch audience might also know you because you were for a long time director of Spring Festival for Performing Arts. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Maybe, Łukasz, you have to tell us first about what we were watching, and because this is a very different, or maybe it isn't, but for me it looks like a very different project than the other performances that we saw. Can you tell me what were we looking at?
This was actually how the dream became really true, because it was the performance that we dreamt from the beginning to do as an outdoor performance. And for a couple of months, we even dreamt about it, not taking in consideration that the premiere is supposed to happen in Lithuania, where it rains 320 days a year. And luckily, at some point, we understood that it's not going to happen outdoor, and we started to search a space where we can do it indoor, and we did it in cinema studios. But it's the project which lasted for a year, the preparation, from the first time when we went with the group of actors and all creators to the woods, and we started to do this experiment on us, a little bit stimulated from the back, trying to make these all people love techno music. A lot of them, they have never been to the rave. Most of them, they are very known Lithuanian actors, not all, but a lot of them. And we stayed there in total probably around 2 months in a couple of periods, going there from summer then through autumn and winter, trying to build up the mockumentary material about the group of people who decided to check out how the basic income actually gonna work when there will be no more work in the world. Yeah, so thinking about the second biggest social paradigm change which has to happen at some point, inspired by Powell's Respublika. It was the microstate created in Lithuania in 18th century, where Polish priest, he bought land with 8,000 peasants, and he said, let's try to organize ourselves differently, and he created some kind of peasants' paradise, it was called. Like when you look into the papers, it was not so paradisiac as he was trying to show it, but still they were free. Yeah, like they were free at this moment, etc. So we try to imagine what's going to be the next shift, and we try to imagine this experiment about the group of people who go to the woods to see how they can organize themselves if they don't work. And very quickly they fall in love with electronic music and with raving, and they rave for 360 days. And after 360 days of rave, they decided they didn't discover actually anything, no answers to any questions that they had, and they split. And then we started telling the story from the past-future perspective, because we imagined that in the future, when the world became so unbearable and we don't have any more answers, they understand, in fact, that they missed the point, that what was most important, it was being together and dancing together, and they tried to rebuild one-night experience to the audience, to the people, re-invite them, and go around the world sharing this ravey kind of narration of the community trying to be together and dance together for at least one night. And that's how the show is constructed. The last part, it is 1.5 hours DJ set that our actors play, and all the spectators dance with us. It's the third act is built up in the form, like it is very dramaturgically structured, as well as really the third act. It's not just a DJ set. But yes, and just to say that it's not all the people who came to all the show, because the pictures were from the last show. Usually when we play Respublika at the last one, we try to invite legends of techno. So here there was Richie Houghton and Sama Abduladi, and they just jump behind the decks and they continue until the morning. And the people who are coming for the after rave, they have tickets already for the third part of our show, so some of them, they don't come to all the show, they come only to our DJ set, which is a warm-up to the big stars who play afterwards until morning.
Thank you. There is, I think, a very interesting a question to be asked looking at it, and also maybe looking to what we do in the Balie, because if I look at the programming we make now in regards to what we made 10 years ago, I think there was a lot more fun, to say it very bluntly. There was artists doing very strange things that didn't really have a purpose, except for indeed experiencing something together. And I miss it sometimes because it was a very beautiful time. And looking at making art in this day and age, how do you deal with being together, enjoying together, things that give life meaning? Do you feel personally, and Reiner, do you see that artists, creators now feel obliged to make the fun part smaller and the political part bigger? How do you think about that? Do you want to start?
I don't think it's about making the fun part smaller, but about reacting to a, let's say, more difficult situation in world politics, and then with the danger to become too didactic. I think, I mean, when I go back, what you quoted from Łukasz in the beginning, asking questions and not giving answers, I appreciate when artists insist on a kind of complexity on stage also, and not follow, let's say, the easy answers and teach me, or trying to be on the good side. I think that's what I'm really very allergic to, that we all clap ourselves on the shoulders and are on the good sides. And I really like the questions then. And I think that's like a quality of theater. And also when we see Respublika, to get so immersed in it and to, say, driving theater so far in an immersive experience, and where the audience has to invest in it and is not a consumer. I think the big danger of, let's say, what we call artivism or agitprop theater is that you also become just a consumer of something that is told to us. Of course, the complexity has the danger that we don't understand it anymore, but then it's again the emotionality of it that draws us in, I think. And I think that's what I'm also looking for, something that has a political meaning in it, but has a strong emotional power. And then maybe the fun comes back.
Yeah, okay.
This was the question that we were asking ourselves very strongly, even like when we were with Respublika. So with Respublika, when the full-scale aggression started in Ukraine, and it was the moment when we haven't played the show for a couple of months, and we met again in May, so it was like, what, 2 months after, or 3 months? And we had this question because most of us were helping somewhere to the people arriving, etc. And we were really asking ourselves, like, does it really make any sense to do this rave-ish performance, where we're gonna dance, how we can dance, shall we dance? And quite quickly, in order for us to do it, we had to do it personally for each one of us, the answer, and convince ourselves that it makes sense. But very quickly as well, we understood, like after first run or the second run, because like usually the rehearsal take long with such a big show, that in fact this performance was never so much relevant as in this moment, and that in fact what we were afraid of, and what we were talking about, that in the future maybe there will be this moment when you will not have another answer than just being together and dance, is the best answer, yeah? And it actually happened, and this was the moment that the way of being with the audience and dancing with audience and doing this show was the most relevant answer which could be, and as well the thing which we forget quite often, this what you say about this fun part, I would say the joy part, yeah, that the joy really matters and is extremely needed, yeah, and in any form of art, like not become deductive, yeah, not how to do things that you live through and which don't give you just answers, simple answers, but which make you somehow better person because of participating in something, yeah, and quite often it can be connected to the very joyful experiences, yeah, and it's with all the, of course, like, you know, the history, of course, we could look at all the history of the electronic music and how techno rose up at, and that it was kind of the movement which has very strong political meaning in it, yeah? And it's not only about potting, but it is kind of the statement, and especially when we look at the techno scene and when we see what happened in Georgia and what kind of influence it had, like one of these few moments when it really worked, like thousands of people dancing in front of the parliament, which changed the law in the end, yeah?
Mm-hmm. In Iran, I think they have also a lot of underground parties still. Reiner, I wonder, because what Lucas said is this being togetherness and maybe about the joy, because at the same time, I think that is frowned upon. And what you said as well about being good in theater, you want to sort of clap yourself on the shoulder, that is a little bit of the climate that we live now. Do you, as a programmer, do you try to work against that thought? How controversial can you be in that sense?
I don't think it's necessarily controversial when you insist on a kind of complexity. I remember when the current Ukraine war started, when the attack came, 2 days later I had an appointment with the Lebanese theater makers, Rabbi Murray and Lina Maidelani in Berlin. And I was asking myself, how do you make a festival now? How do you react on this? And they said to me, they've been living in the civil war in Lebanon for a long time, and said, well, we kept on partying, we kept on celebrating, and we kept on making art. So just do what you think is important. It shouldn't change what you do. You have your convictions and you do that. And I found this quite liberating from somebody with this experience, that he said, believe in what you believe in. So I think it's not that difficult to defy the necessity to be simple, because then we also become populist in a way. So I think let's just do that. And I think it's take your audience serious as like open, curious people who want to think and want to feel something and are not consumers. I think that's the key to it, and I think we manage, or we try to.
But then at the same time, maybe from a personal point of view, it does, in a sense, for me, sometimes feel very useless to sit here. I really enjoy it. Like, I love it, honestly. But then, do you have that feeling sometimes?
Rather during work. And it was, again, the case because the invasion started 2 weeks before the premiere of Rohtko, for example, yeah? And I just knew myself that I had to cut off completely from the news, because I knew, like, I read the first day, and I knew that if ever I'm gonna read, I will lose all feeling of sense of what we're doing, like the performance about the forgery and real and fake Rohtko in the moment when the war is starting, like, it's completely senseless, yeah? But I think that it's very dangerous to think in this way, and that we really need to find some kind of defense systems in order to really believe and persist in our belief, yeah? And like in my case, I had to really cut off from the reality in order to finish the premiere, and then I could come back straight, go to Wrocław and run to the railway station to help people coming from Ukraine overnight, yeah? And I think that these two things are needed at the same time. It doesn't mean that you need to stop doing art which not necessarily speaks about the war at this moment, because war is one of the factors which is like the most frightening at this moment. Yeah, this is what we are all the most afraid of in Europe, etc., and not only in Europe. But the life doesn't lose all the other complex parts of it, yeah? And you cannot just completely concentrate on the one topic. And these topics, they exist simultaneously, yeah? And this is a little bit as well this thing that, like, if you can tell why would you paint it, that it is some kind of exercise as well, I would say, the perception of art, yeah, like whatever it is, literature, exhibits, theater, cinema, etc. Like, it's some kind of gymnastics on your humanity, that you need, very generally. But then about the more joyful forms of art or raving, etc., it is the thing which is as well needed in order to find the sense what you fight for, because every single tyrant, he will be always, first of all, trying to kill the joy on the opposite side, and this is an act of resistance itself as well, if we manage not to lose it, if we fight with already preserving the joy, it is very difficult, and this is something what is against the system which is trying to destroy you, so it was I will just say very quickly, because it was one of the reasons why I was carrying this dream of Respublika for years, since I was on this rave in Ukraine in 2006, and I discovered this incredible, I recommend to everybody, it's on YouTube to see short documentary, Storming Sarajevo, where the group of British DJs, they decide on the day when the war stopped in Yugoslavia just to pack the sound systems and go to play rave in Sarajevo. And they are obviously going through the zones where people do not know that the war is over. They don't let them pass through the borders. The car gets broken, etc. And finally they arrive to Sarajevo and they play the rave, and they say that it was the best rave that they played ever in life. And it's Keith Robinson, who is not alive anymore, who says that the music, and I could say that it's not only about music, but he says music is not a luxury. Music is an essence, and it becomes usually the first victim of every war. And I would say that with culture in general, we could say, it is not a luxury. It is one of the essentials, and we are too easily giving up and killing it from our side already. Telling that we should not, or and all these things what we should.
And I'm gonna.
That I think that we should sometimes, because it's very, very about your question, that we should be more irresponsible sometimes, especially in art.
When you asked Łukasz before, are you afraid of AI? We probably all try to answer this question for ourselves also. And I thought I find it terrifying, but I'm not afraid, and probably I'm not afraid because it's too abstract, like climate change maybe, I cannot grasp it, but then you see the scene that we just saw, and it suddenly becomes something very concrete, and it's then on the one hand, you could be afraid, and it's terrifying. On the other hand, you think, but we are able to grasp it like that, and give it a face and give it a meaning, so that's also something very comforting, I think, at the same time. So I don't find it senseless.
No.
Not at all, on the contrary. I totally agree with you, because this makes us maybe also as human beings also. It has something transcendental in it, and at the same time something political in it. That's why we need it, probably.
Is that also, I think, the feeling you want people to walk away with after a performance? Can they go out feeling hopeless? Or should they never leave like this?
Feeling hopeless?
Yeah.
That's the contrary, what I wanted to walk away with.
But that's why I'm asking. That's why I'm asking.
No, absolutely the contrary. And it's in many shows, it's true that in different forms. I remember I heard once about Respublika, very nice description. Somebody said that it is first melancholic rave that they lived. And I find some kind of beauty in melancholic raving, And I think that it's possible. And it tells actually something about this group as well in the performance, because they go to the woods, but they do not disconnect completely. And they say that the repression requires effort. And it is kind of a work which is part of raving as well. How much you have to repress and how much you have to forget in order to get to this transcendent state for a certain time, But it still doesn't change the whole background of the landscape in which you are dancing. So when we were doing this show, it was before such a big tension in the international conflict, so we were more thinking about the climate change. This is our background of the catastrophe that we are living through, and that what they are actually as well running away. Yeah, but and it's again like this is as well some kind of a background that we are living through, that we repress as well in order to survive. And we were like concentrating as well on this, how they discovered that in fact raving is kind of a work as well that you do every day.
Mm-hmm. Maybe one last question, and it will be a depressing one. And then I look to the audience to make sure that we end with some hope, because I was not going to send people away homeless. Because I do want to ask you both, working in Europe, in this present climate, where, as you say, a lot of autocrats, and not even in Europe only, but in the world, try to kill the joy first. What worries you if you look at the way societies now and maybe people now look at art? What sort of developments do you see happening, Rainer, also maybe for you, that you find very concerning?
I think a kind of polarization, or the loss of the ability to forgive each other. Mm-hmm. And I think this is connected with polarization. Not listening to each other really, or accepting completely different opinions and not becoming enemies about it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a societal phenomenon which has entered the arts also.
And where do you see it entering the arts? That it's if you have different opinions on something, and we have a point of view there and somebody else has a point of view there, and we are forced to have this point of view, that we cannot talk with each other anymore. And I think that this happens in the cultural field as in any other field of the society. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you feel this? Do you see this?
I feel a little bit, but as well I feel it's more connected to your previous questions, some kind of very big auto-censorship, which makes the thing very politically correct and very right, but that I feel that we are losing something wild, what could be or could happen inside of any forms of art in order not to be judged or not to be attacked, because there is so many, and it's like how to find balance, yeah? Because of course there are things which obviously are bad, which changed with time, and luckily they changed, but I think that the measures of certain things which become forbidden in order not to offend anyone make a lot of productions, and I think that it's very dangerous as well, because I think that that's what makes us lose as well the audience, or the contact with the audience. It's not about shocking. I'm not talking that, like, you know, that we are supposed, but just like doing things which are more risky and which can really have bigger impact on people, because there is always this risk that there are going to be somebody who's going to get offended, or somebody who's not going to like it. And I feel that we, like, we have quite a lot of discussions always as well, like how to find, like how to keep alive and still trying to push a little bit, or how to build up something what is not just the response to the, I would say, some kind of standards which are demanding from artists. It is as well about this, all these questions, like, you know, how to be relevant, how to answer the situation, etc. And you have so many things that you are obliged to answer as an artist, that you are losing completely the joy in it. And if there is no joy in creation, there is no joy in watching. And this is the thing that I'm pretty scared of, that we are somehow auto-censorship ourselves, being afraid of being commented or attacked after about the things which are more daring, yeah, and in the end it doesn't work, yeah, because I still believe that it needs to be somehow strong, yeah, one way or another, and it can be sometimes, or it has to be even at some point irresponsible in order to find the joy inside.
I said I was going to go to you, but now of course I have to ask you, what is maybe a recent time where you were feeling maybe leaning towards self-censorship and you thought, no, I really have to take this risk? Can you give me an example?
I don't have the really good example now.
You can think about it.
But I have not very good, but still that you, in some kind of narration, for example, like we have this performance, the employees, and you think, like I was thinking, as a male director, that they are erotic scenes, especially one between human and humanoid, which is beautiful visually of sexual intercourse between human and humanoid, between two female representatives of two species, And there was this moment that I had to think 3 times, like I was asking myself, am I a person who can do it, and how many times I'm gonna be blamed for the male gaze, etc. And I decided to do it, and I think that it absolutely works inside of the performance, where there are relations as well between two female and between male and female and between two male, etc. But this is like and actually. Just recently, I heard a few people who said that it's male gaze. But this is kind of the censorship, auto-censorship as well. Like obviously we have to work on it, but how not to kill as well certain beauty, which is just not to be accused of male gaze. Like how not to be afraid of showing, in this simple example, two women making love, like how not to be afraid of it. It depends, of course, on the context and all the show, but it was like really the moment that I had to think really 2 or 3 times, like, is it really correct? Is it not correct?
Understandable. Thank you both. I'm gonna see if anyone has a question. Yes, okay. I need a microphone, I think. I don't have it yet.
Yeah, I got a question for you, Łukasz, which is triggered by your remark that you see music and art in general as a necessity and not a luxury. Do you see an analogy with creative play for children, which I see also as a necessity? And if so, could you derive some points to give more value, to value more the arts for us as grown-ups?
I didn't get I didn't get the end of the question. Like,
if you see this analogy, could you derive some points from that to value more in the arts for us as grown-ups? Do you understand?
No.
Okay. So I was triggered by your remark, and I thought of the value of playing and the creativity in playing for children. I feel there is some connection. So if you see also this connection, maybe there are some points in the value of playing and creativity for children which can help to promote the value of arts for us as grown-ups.
But do you mean like the value, like in the way how we're gonna act and play with children, or no?
No, I think in the way that children are allowed to play and we aren't.
That what?
That children are...
What play and creativity does for children, and you can might see an analogy what art does for us grown-ups.
Yes. Obviously, but like I'm not really ready to generalize. It's more about very personal way of feeling how much something gives you sense, and that's what we were talking about. Like, you know, when something, how to give a meaning to whatever we do, yeah. And this is the things that it becomes very automatic in the children's play, yeah, like they just take something and all of a sudden there is so many narrations, yeah, and they are living that we are pretty often like how to understand as well, because it's maybe as well connected, yeah, that the children, they are automatically living in the imaginary world which is co-created by them, and that's why quite often it's one of the happiest moments, etc., when you are like so freely playing, yeah. And then we cut off so drastically big part of our imagination, yeah, and we start just working, etc., and believing in very materialistic world, and we cut off and this artist in us that we have as children, which is being trained, being in contact with art. But as well, we are cutting off the possibility to dream or understand that the real, it's not everything, yeah? And art gives you somehow the possibility to re-understand again that what is real, this is such a small thing compared to this what is imagined, yeah? And this connection between imagination, which is being lost at some point when we grow up, is somehow regained or can be regained, and through the process of making art and receiving it, yeah?
Thank you. I'm going to see if there's another question. You don't have to. You can also do it at the bar, but yes.
For Łukasz. You as being a Polish citizen background, I have a very simple question. Do you think that makes you a different artist or a different view, or do you think like artists are artists?
That's complex question, because what does it mean for me being Polish? I was born, this was my first language. I left Poland very quickly, and since then never stayed too long, yeah? And this what made me and what makes me understand and work in the international context. I feel much more home or much more closer to myself than working in the national context, yeah, like with the homogeneous group of Poles who are doing the show, or only in Polish, yeah. Like somehow I believe now we're sitting here and talking in English. In a moment I'm gonna talk with my child in French, and I believe that this mix of cultures, languages is new identity, yeah? So I would say that, of course, some kind of background from Poland, which is like very strong, because probably I would not discover Tadeusz Kantor at the age of 13 and would not start dreaming about doing the theater like he was doing, and thinking about certain, because this was really like the discovery of Tadeusz Kantor was like the really game changer, yeah? Like to understand what theater can do with you, even though I could not see it live. I only saw some recordings back then, but I understood that this medium has like unfinished, unlimited possibilities of communication out of only storytelling, yeah, and that it is like some kind of form which has or can have its own very different and unique language. And this is this more connection to Poland, or the strongest connection to the Poland that I would think about.
I was thinking about that question, being Polish myself. I think you kind of get it in the milk of your mother. That the history, in our history of Poland and the Central Europe and the Eastern Europe being closed off behind the Iron Curtain, art, theater, music, almost everything was some kind of a tool of bringing the truth and democracy into our lives. And I think you sort of have to have it as Cantor or Holland, or we have so many great artists. But that's the kind of one question that it's probably somewhere in your DNA, if it's if that's what you think. And the second question, obviously music is very important in your art and for yourself. Where do you get inspiration for the music, and personally, and in your art?
Unfortunately, I am lazy and very much is Spotify. And I know that it's horrible, but I have to admit it because I know... and it's horrible. I know that we all should stop using this horrible Spotify, but I have to admit that so far there is a lot of songs that I would never discover because my Discover Weekly, it's kind of ritual. Yeah?
Your algorithm is too good.
Yes, but then usually festivals as well, because I really love festivals, and it is the thing more about the use of sound that you cannot, it's not only about the tunes itself, but the way of building the relation of the sound with the spectator and what kind of frequencies, how they act on the body, not only on hearing system, but like what does it mean to be exposed to certain frequencies for longer, etc. So this is like the mixture between the discoveries of the music itself, and then I think that it's the same important, it is the way how you project the sound and how you build up all the infrastructure around it, yeah, and then obviously with the shows, the collaboration with great composers, which is extremely useful in order to discover something new.
And the Polish question.
And the Polish question, no, absolutely, it is in my DNA, of course, because it is. But it is, I think that, again, there is like something in DNA which is pretty characteristic for Poland and Polish theater as well, that somehow we had pretty different tradition, and that the theaters actually, which are very known from the past in the world, which will be, of course, Grotowski and Cantor, are the things which are rather niche kind of narrations, yeah, that we had this kind of tradition of artistic theater, which was not really repertoire theater, which is completely different from the Eastern countries, which had like very strong masters of the art for everyone, yeah, and there is something in Polish art, I think, especially in theater, what was making it unique, creating the form which was very progressive and making the theater really the place of experiment, yeah, that there was kind of thinking about all the countries behind the wall, that somehow the experiment was the speciality of Polish theater, yeah, not the main big venues, that it was like really happening somewhere in the more underground, and this was the thing which I think stays as well, some kind of lack of trust to the big institutions sometimes, or trying to build and work it in more pirate way, like not going with the mainstream way of working mainstream or traditional way, yeah? Like how we can push it farther, yeah? How we can do the 6 hours rave performance in the National Drama Theatre in Vilnius, yeah? For example, like just like how to do something what should never ever happen in this institution.
Okay. I think we should take something of that last phrase home with us all, how to do that. Thank you both very much for being here. Thank you for sitting this all out. I very much appreciate it. It was 2 hours, a little bit longer than I expected, but it was such a pleasure. So thank you both. Please join us at the bar for a drink if you want to speak some more. And see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.